Welcome to the video setup manual for your HiPod R-Line. The first step in setting up your camera is to set up the base. Take your base plate and put it onto the ground, and then insert the base cylinder into the opening on the base plate. The base should look like this at this stage. At the point where the base cylinder and the base plate attach, you will find a ratchet that you can tighten so that the base cylinder is snugly into the base plate. Now we will extend the legs on the HiPod base. Remove the spring-loaded pin from each bracket on the inside and move the leg and the pin to the hole on the outside. The pin will reinsert to lock the leg in place. Here's another view of that same procedure. Now extend the second section of the leg and lock loosely. Check the bubble on the base as you extend the legs to make sure that your shot will be even. When you're satisfied, adjust the secondary leg lock into place and tighten. Retighten all leg locks so that they are secure. Repeat this step for all three legs. This is the bubble on the HiPod base. The bubble should be directly in the center of the red circle on the bubble. Readjust the legs until the bubble is directly in the center, and then finalize your setup of the legs. At the top of the HiPod base, there is a plastic ring inserted into the top of the lip. This is called a Delrin ring. It helps to space the tubes correctly so that they do not wiggle inside of the HiPod base. Make sure this piece is in the base and that it is not pushed down into the base when you insert the tubes. This is very important. Now we're ready to insert the tubes into the HiPod base. Simply take your tubes out of the tube case and insert them through the top of the base. Again, make sure the Delrin ring stays in place. In the same manner as at the bottom of the HiPod base, there is a ratchet at the top of the base that tightens the tubes into the base. It's important that you tighten this ratchet so that the tubes do not slip out of the base while you're raising the poles into the air. At this point, we can attach the motor to the tubes. Simply attach the plate that is underneath of the motor into the top of the HiPod tubes, and then attach the two screws on either side of the tubes to hold the plate on which the motor sits into place. Tighten the screws on the side with your Allen key included in your cases. You can either sit or stand while operating your R-Line HiPod. If you choose to stand, attach the monitor bracket to the tubes as such. Open the monitor bracket and attach via the silver screw on the side until it's snug. You can readjust this bracket any way you want via the different thumb tightening screws on the side. Then retrieve your HD monitor from the case, adjust the bracket so that it can be attached, and screw the monitor onto the top of the HiPod mounting bracket. Readjust back into place when finished. When fully charged, the battery for the LCD will power the monitor from 8 to 10 hours. Simply take your battery and align the holes on it with the pins on the monitor so that it can be installed. When finished, reattach your monitor into place and turn the monitor on. The battery pack will power your motors from 8 to 12 hours. You can attach the battery pack however you like, but I recommend that you take the straps and wrap it around the poles several times to keep the battery pack placed on top of the silver ring on top. You will charge the battery pack via the 3-part charger set with a cigarette plug that will then plug into the wall and trickle charge the battery. You can attach the camera to the robotic motors either before or after mounting the motors to the top of the HiPod head. Simply attach the camera to the top of the unit and tighten into place. The window on your camera must be opened in order for your camera to stay on while filming. However, you can flip the camera window forward and push it back to close. You will be using an HDMI cord, so close the window as far as you can. Now we will attach the electric cords to your unit. Notice the different ends of the large black cord. One will go to the top and the other will go to the bottom. There will be a yellow or white line on the top end of the cord. Now we will connect the cable bundle to the HiPod. You will find the strain relief for the cables hanging down from the top of the HiPod tubes. Simply take the cable bundle and insert it into the carabiner hook below the yellow line and T-bar attached to the cable. Close the carabiner and the bundle will be secured at the strain relief point. This will keep the camera and the motor cords from wearing down over time. There are 4 simple cords to plug in. The first one pictured here controls the motors via the remote at the bottom of the base. Plug this into the back of the robotic setup. From here, if you look to the right, you will find a small round hole. This provides power from the battery brick at the bottom of the unit up to the robot. Simply plug the cord in as such. Next, you will connect the D cable into the camera. The red, yellow, and white cords on this cable will not be used. Simply plug the D cable into the right-hand side of the camera underneath of the open camera door. Here's another shot of that same procedure using a different camera model. Always make sure that you look for the D cable port and that it is AVR compatible. Now look on the left-hand side of your camera. You will see the HDMI out port. This is where you're going to connect your long HDMI cable. Simply find this cable and plug it directly into your camera. Now we will connect the cables at the bottom of the unit. The first cable I'm going to install is the cigarette plug that provides power up to the robotic motors. Remove the plastic tip and plug it directly into the battery pack. Then take your HDMI cable and plug it to the HDMI in source on your monitor. Now we will connect the cables that control your camera functions. Find the Sony remote included in your case and plug it into the silver tipped cord that looks like this. There's a groove inside you will line up and then the cord snaps into place. The final cord to attach is the directional remote that controls the motors. There are 8 pins that connect into the open slots on the cord at the bottom. Different people like different control mechanisms for the motors. Some like up to be up, and some like up to be down. If you like it inverted, you can attach the camera one way, and then if you would like to try it the other way, simply turn the camera in the opposite direction. It will invert the direction of the motors for you. There is a speed control for the robot motors at the bottom of the remote. For end zone shots, you're going to want to turn this up the whole way. There are settings on the back of the motor that allow you to pivot the head in different ranges of degrees of motion. You need at least 90 to 340 degrees. We have included a gear table that can be converted to a viewing table for your convenience. If you would like to use it as a gear table, simply find the 2 black struts that support the unit from underneath. Attach these to the 2 holes pointed out here. You can set this up in different ways, but this is the most sturdy. Remove the wing nut from the top of the strut and then attach it to the top of the silver plate. Do this for both of the struts. When your setup looks like this, you're ready to attach the top of the table. Line up the 2 holes on the table that we're about to point out as such. This is where you're going to attach the 2 remaining screws to the table. Notice the pins coming out of the base of the table. You align these up with the grooves in the struts and then push the table as far back towards the silver plate as you can until it stops. This is the most secure way of using the gear table. Underneath, secure the screws until the unit is tightly in place. Don't let the table dangle off to the side as it will tip. Make sure it is pushed all the way to the silver plate. If you would rather use this plate as a viewing table, there are 2 ways to accomplish this. Simply take the tip of your monitor bracket and remove the black mechanism as such. You will reattach this round piece to the bottom of the black bracket. In this way, you are simply reversing the original positions. The round piece will go to the bottom of the table to secure the unit, and the top will be where you're going to attach your monitor. Screw the monitor into the bracket as such until it is nice and snug. Then simply open the bottom of the piece where we attached the round unit before, put this through the yellow plate, and then reattach until the entire setup is tight. If you are converting this table mechanism from the gear table to the viewing table often, this may be your preferred method because it is extremely simple and quick to accomplish. The second method of setting up your viewing table is slightly more permanent. Take the black piece pictured here and attach it to the plate via 4 silver screws that will be included in your unit. You will secure these with the Allen key included with the unit as well. Next, you will disassemble the mounting bracket to remove a ratchet and a threaded bolt mechanism. It should look like this. Notice that you cannot push the bolt mechanism out of the ratchet without turning it. This is the kind that you want. You will attach the bolt mechanism to the left side of the mounting plate area. This will allow the ratchet to squeeze between the 2 items so that the bracket can stay in place. Included in your unit, there is a 10-foot HDMI extension cord to utilize while sitting down. Find this cord from your accessory case. There is a conversion tip that goes between the 2 HDMI cords. Simply plug these together and you'll be able to run the cord 10 feet away from your unit to wherever you'd like to sit. Simply plug in the HDMI cord to your monitor in the same way as you would if you were mounting it to the tower. Say you forgot to charge your HiPod battery pack the night before. You can power the motors in an alternate way. Open the flap that is on the front of the unit to reveal a case that will accept 4 AA batteries. Insert the batteries and they will provide power for your robotic motors. We include rain gear for every electric part of the HiPod unit. However, installing the rain gear for the head and the robot is the most complex. The camera will mount to this piece and look through the window. The rain gear pictured here will act as a skirt that protects the HiPod motors. Simply unzip and prepare to attach underneath of the area where the camera will bolt down. Slip the skirt onto the camera mounting area as such. Once the skirt is ready, attach your camera so that the rain gear is firmly set in place. At this step in the process, your rain gear should look like this. In order to attach the rain gear plate where your camera mounts to your robotic motors, you will need to find the black insert pictured here. Mount it via the camera mounting screw to the motors, and then you will slide the rain gear into this insert. See how the camera rain gear plate will simply slide into the insert attached to the robotic motors. There is a clamp on the left side of this insert that will hold the plate into place so that the camera will not slip. Notice that you just pull it back as such. There is also a button on the side that can release your camera depending on how you have it set. Then begin to wrap the skirt of the rain gear around the HiPod motors. Zip up the skirt when you're ready, and then attach the hook of the zipper around the clamp that secures your HiPod rain gear for the camera to the robotic motors. This will make sure that the zipper does not open while the unit is in use. When this is done, cover the camera completely
and your camera and your motors will be protected from the rain. Now you're ready to elevate the HiPod tubes. Open the cam lock on the top section and push it until you see the white line at the end of the tube length. This ensures that you won't push it past the safety point. When it is in the air, close the cam lock and the tube will stay in place. On the bottom three sections of the HiPod tubes, we've included a pin that allows you to insert it directly through the tubing. This ensures that there is no possible way for the tubes to retract while the unit is in use. Simply insert the pin through the tubes as such. Every stage of tubing has a piece of Velcro. Please utilize this Velcro by taking your video and power cords and tightly attaching it through the Velcro straps to the tubes. This allows for strain relief throughout the tube system.